Hi again. Wow, it's the day for lots of stuff to be unsealed and for me to be jumping on here to do really quick videos just to catch up with it all. Excuse me. So the audio is still not unsealed, but we do have oh, where is it? I just had it a minute ago. We have some portions of depositions now unsealed. These are these were attached as part of the opposition for Blake Lively's motion for remedies under Section 47.1, the treble damages, attorney's fees, etc., etc. Sorry, I've got a really sore throat now. I apologise for the background noise. Little one's getting ready for bed. So this first one is the transcript for the deposition of Vivian Baker, who is Blake Lively's makeup artist. And I'm only going to just kind of talk through the parts that Wayfarer have themselves highlighted in yellow, unless I see something interesting that catches my eye. But so Vivian Baker is asked, you described for us in response to Miss Bender's question several incidents that you characterized, I believe, as inappropriate. Did all of those incidents occur during the first phase of the filming? And she responded by saying that would be correct. There's a bit of back and forth. Basically, she mentions that she prepared for this deposition by having at least one meeting with her lawyers. You're not. So basically, she is told, not to get into conversations with her attorneys. I mean, she's told not to get into conversations with attorneys in the room, and just ask a little bit about it. But then it kind of finishes, and the disclaimer is there. So let's see if we can open another one. I have to go through all of these lawyers just to get through Pacer. There's such a lot on here. Right. Okay. Okay, so this is the deposition of Warren Zavala. Warren Zavala is an agent for WME. I believe he's Blake Lively's agent. Sorry, my throat is so bad now. I feel like I've got a cold as well. Okay. So he's asked. So this will obviously as well. We'll go to the location, the extraterritoriality argument. Do you know where the movie was filmed? Yes. Where? New Jersey. So question. Okay, were you aware of any incidents that made Miss Lively uncomfortable during the second phase of filming? He answers, no. He's then asked, your second visit to the set occurred during the second phase of filming, correct? And he answers, correct. And then he's asked, everything seemed to be going well to your observation during that second visit, correct? And he responds, yeah, yes, correct. And then that is that with that position. We just looked at 2. Okay, so 3. I think this is the last one. And this is the deposition of Danny Greenberg, who is another WME agent. He was Justin Baldoni's agent. So, question. By the way, where was the film shot? Let's stick with the first phase of filming if you know. Answers, in New Jersey, I believe. I'm just going to see if there is anything actually on there. Because there is, he talks about a text conversation. He's shown a text message here. He mentioned the Bates numbers, etc. He talks about a conversation between him and Justin. I'm going to read this bit actually. Question. Okay, and you say to Mr. Baldoni, yep, and I'm there to have your back and remind you, not that you need me to, that you are the man and you are going to crush this. So that was a text message Danny Greenberg sent to Justin Baldoni. They don't necessarily follow in quiet. They don't necessarily follow in page order. Okay, so this is interesting at the top. It's not actually highlighted, but this is this. I wonder if I can. So here to here, this part, I can't highlight it because it's not giving me the option. Maybe if I reattach my keyboard. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can highlight it because I find this. There we go, I can. Okay. They're your partners. It was theirs too. You want to mention this morning event, their acknowledgement of the continued extortion and effort to gain control of the film. And then the questioner goes on to say, at the time you sent these suggestions for your letter to Sony, you sent to Mr. Baldoni. Had you had discussions with anyone at Sony about Miss Lively's effective attempts at extortion? And then his attorney put in the usual objections, but then Danny Greenberg goes on to talk more and says, I had ongoing conversations with Ange Giannetti, the executive on the project, about the behaviour that Blake was displaying along the way. And at this point in time, what was on the table was the premiere issue. So Ellen then asks, you were choosing your words very carefully, weren't you? And he responds, I don't remember my state of mind when I wrote this letter. So Ellen then asks, is it your practice to choose why you are words carefully when conveying an important message? He responds, I do my best. And then she asks, and you used the word extortion in this chat, suggesting to Mr. Baldoni what he might write to Sony, correct? And he says, yes, it's in the text. Ellen says, that's a pretty strong word, isn't it? To which Danny Greenberg says, it felt appropriate at the moment. Ellen then says, you anticipated my next question. Thank you. Then you go on to say, but don't in any way put Sony on the defensive or indict them. Then, if you can be contrite in some capacity, very briefly acknowledging the two of you had your moments, which she would dissect your energy, word choice, and personality frequently that led to mutual discomfort working with one another. Not everyone gets along kind of thing. Not all personalities are compatible. Now, when you're suggesting to Mr. Baldoni that he writes something to Sony saying, other people have agreements or downplaying the agreements, did you believe that Mr. Baldoni was taking Miss Lively's conduct too seriously? He says, I'm not really following the question. So Ellen withdraws it and says, you used the word extortion, correct? He says, yes. She says, sounds to me like you believed at the time of this chat, July 26, 2024, that it was more than just ordinary incompatibility between Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively. Is that a true statement? He says, I think my use of the word extortion there was referencing just cumulative behaviour that both the studio and Wayfarer and Justin was having to manage, and so that's why I used the word. I will read on. Ellen then says, that would be more than just a disagreement between two different personalities, wouldn't it, Mr. Greenberg? He says, and it's not a complete answer because that's the end of it. Well, their personalities, again, I think the text speaks for itself. But I think they were not getting along. And so I think it's important. I was suggesting to Justin that he be, and it doesn't go any further than that, unfortunately, but that sounds interesting. Okay. So far, that's all we have. Still waiting for other things to be unsealed, but, I sat down for dinner and everything's getting unsealed, except the one thing I really want. You may hear from me again later if something else becomes unsealed. If not, have a great weekend and thank you for listening.